to clean into the pure now. Till I see I live it every time. Judgment. Again. For bad mind, I go kill them. I envious it, I go mad them. Tell them to free up them conscience. It's just like a rope, it, I go in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Nuh Likkle Twang. I'm your host for today, Shads, and I'm here with Leslie and Dougie. How's it going, guys? Leslie?
I am doing great. I kind of fell off the wagon, but I'm back on my health kick. Did a solid 3.5 miles today. I was gonna say 8, but it's 8 kilometers, not 3, not 8 miles. And I'm determined for me to be right and tight by Canada Day. Like that's my new goal. Right and tight, Canada Day. So
Well,
yeah.
Canada Day not keep.
It don't matter if I keep more and know. So when the time come, if I need to look back on the memories of that day there, but they look good. So yeah,
Do your
that's my
thing,
new
girl.
fitness goal. Yeah, girl, that's me.
And Dougie, what about you?
I'm good. We're recording today. We're together. I have my quarantine 15. Unlike some people, I'm just going to take my fat and I'm going to make the most of it. I will start doing some workouts, but I mean, since outside isn't keeping this year, I might as well just look fat and fabulous, no?
I mean, isn't that every year for you, though?
I was about to say, him and him little weak excuse about him quarantine 50, like them never to walk around with a quarantine 50 before the quarantine. Hey, you, don't bother with it.
Stop telling listeners lie, you hear me?
You
True.
know
No,
what?
thank you.
Our friend Dougie is felt. He is fit. His physique is up. We just like to rib him.
You know what? Dougie,
Yeah.
don't make Leslie come bad mind here because we're not into that.
You know, speaking of bad
Badmind, go
mind,
down.
so go around now, Leslie, why you still at the front of the yard?
Look, I'm no
Any-
Badman. Come on, body stay good. Oh, God.
anyway, Shads.
Yes. So actually, speaking of bad mind, that's our topic for today, guys, because our culture is surrounded by it, apparently.
Yes, man. Okay, man. I say bad mind and them people that fuck. Go down. Bad mind. Go down. Iniquity. Go down. Do allow no must. Go down. You can't stop to get the youth them. All right then.
Before we get into it, I just want to remind you guys to follow us on our socials, Twitter and Instagram at Nuh Likkle Twang, and also follow us on all the podcast services as Apple, Google, and Spotify. Now let's get into it. So, I wanted to get you guys' opinion on this culture of bad mind. What exactly is bad mind? And why do Jamaicans all feel that they're affected by bad mind? I want to hear from you, Dougie.
Bad mind. Bad mind is not good mind. But bad mind is I think it's envy coupled with ill will. So it's not wanting the same thing that someone else has. It's wishing that you had it and they didn't, and thinking things or doing things that would take that particular thing or position away from someone, like a car or a house or a significant other. It's wishing the worst for somebody. To me, that's what bad mind actually means to me.
And as far as the origins of bad mind go, what do you know about that and the sociological aspect of it?
Honestly, I don't think there is like this general origin of bad mind, but I feel like it could have been that post slavery there were some slaves or some black people who were doing well, and there were other people who may not have been doing so well, and they had to explain why they weren't doing as well. So he probably stole it or she probably stole it. She's probably sleeping with this person. And because there was a need to explain someone else's shortcoming, it was possibly just called bad mind. So when someone is like, why does she envy me, or why does she wishes me the worst, or he wishes me the worst because I'm going up the social ladder. I think it was just tied to a bad mind because we didn't because we because English was our second language. We didn't. I would say maybe slaves or former slaves did not have the vocabulary to say, this was envy or this was greed. but the person had a bad mind, which means that they didn't mean you well. So that was probably how the word was actually created, or the phrase was actually created.
Good to know. Good to know. Leslie, I want to ask you because I know, especially with our music, the word bad mind comes up so much. I've lost count. And just how you feel about that. What do you know?
Well, the thing is that I feel as if I grew up in an era where Badmind was the most prevalent music there ever was. Like my mother used to say, what happened to all the Jamaican artists? Everybody just Badmind one another song, and it wasn't something that stuck out to me because it was just so common, but that's just how prevalent it has been. Like if historically we look through the last few decades, from Beanie Man, Capleton, come right back up to the Cargo, even Chronics or reggae Prince. I don't want to use the word Prince incorrectly because Dennis Brown title is unchanged, unchallenged. But every single type of Jamaican authentic singer has some element of bad mind in some of their songs. Like they always, if it's not outrightly calling it bad mind, they're talking about how somebody doesn't wish them well.
Hello, Badmind. Good morning.
The culture of bad mind is basically synonymous with hater culture. That is also something that's in North America, and it's funny to me that you have this pervasive need to describe everybody around you as bad mind. Like no one is wishing you well. Everybody's waiting for you to see you fall flat on your face so that they can laugh and jeer. And it is linked to our history, as Dougie alluded to. It has everything to do with the fact that people don't, well, not people, Jamaican people don't necessarily think that their neighbors wish the best for them. If they rise to the top or the cream of the crop, it's because they had to work very hard and they had to keep it a secret from others, because if others knew, they would try and tear them down or try and ruin their reputations or try and ruin their chances. And that's something that we can get into, but it's just something that's over and over and over been proven in a lot of instances. So yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. It almost seems as if it's like some tradition of fear, and maybe that's something that we could get into next. All right, so we're back, and we wanted to touch more on bad mind and possibly the tradition of fear and maybe even the superstition that surrounds our culture. Maybe that's what adds to the issue. I want to start with Leslie. And what are some superstitions you may have heard growing up, or maybe you find yourself following now if you are superstitious? I don't think you are, but I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think I have a superstitious bone in my body. I don't, I don't, I feel like I didn't even actively think of the word superstition until I was probably like in late prep school watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch on TV, and somebody probably walked by and say, "How that girl have a black cat?" I said, "Black cats are bad luck," and I was like, "What?" Like I didn't have any point of reference because I don't have any around me who actively speaks about those things. Um, but strangely enough, while I was, doing prep for this talk with you guys, I thought about or researched rather some superstitions, and I have heard quite a bit. And I mean, there's obviously the one that all Jamaicans, I'm sure Doug will agree, all Jamaicans have heard, which is that you can't open an umbrella in your house. I think is what, you're not going to get married or you're not going to get pregnant for girls. I'm not sure if it applies to men as well. Maybe he can correct me. I know that if a bird flies overhead and they crap on you, it's good luck. But if
That one I know.
if a lizard drop on you, you need to go get that pregnancy test quick because, your life's about to change forever.
Good thing I live in
Uh,
Canada.
listen, the first thing my auntie told me before I come here, I said, Canada and the lizard, so everything is A-OK. So I said, oh, brilliant. I actually found out about a superstition today that I'd never heard before, which is that if if you have a daughter and she resembles her father, she will be lucky. And if you have a son and he resembles his mother, he will be lucky. That was just amazing to me. And no, that's like something I want to hold on to just because I think I'm very lucky and I'm basically my dad's twin. But that's my extent of knowledge of, superstitions. I am not superstitious. I don't have a superstitious bone in my body. I don't think about it. I don't adhere to any, I don't know, policies, not policies. I don't adhere to any belief system that um other things can like ruin my day. Like it's all on me. I'm very secure in my belief of I'm manifesting the life I live. I am a liar. This happens every episode. Something comes to me as I'm talking. It's terrible. Every episode I'm talking, something comes to me and I just thought about something. Okay. So this is for the listeners that maybe lots of people don't know me. And those of you who are listening who know me, I definitely agree to this. I am considered a goat mouth. Anybody who don't know what that means that I'm one of those people that if I say something, I'm going to give a conservative estimate. 8 times out of 10, it will happen. So I can give big examples, I can give small examples. If I think it will happen. As I've gotten old and I've read it, they're just like, you put energy into what you believe, and the more energy you put into things, the more things will happen. But honestly, like it could be the smallest thing. Like the other day I was cutting something and some of the cuttings were like, I was afraid that the cuttings would fall on the floor. And I was like, oh, only one thing has fallen on the floor and I've been at this for about half an hour. That's cool. And I kid you not, I was just like, I really hope no more falls on the floor. Like, I need to leave it at once. And the minute I thought it, like 3 more things fell on the floor. And I was like, Jesus, this is why I should not have thought about it, because I just ruined it. And I had to like rethink and be like, okay, no more is going to fall on the floor. After they say, no more fell. And that's just like a very, very simple example, but it's the most recent, just to say that I have what's considered a goat mouth where I manifest things. And I didn't say that aloud. Like I said it in my mind. But if I say something to you, like a lot of times my friends are like, no, take it back. So I try anything I don't want to occur. Once I see the thought forming in my mind, I literally have to like wipe it. And if I'm about to say something, I have to be like, nope, I'm not even going to put that out into the universe. Like that's how I live my life. That's my only superstition, quote unquote. But yeah.
I'll definitely agree with you when it comes to the goat mode, because I am a strong believer in that one and highly superstitious surrounding it, because I honestly feel, especially with my mother, like enough time I tell her, I'm like, you have goat mode tonight, you have goat mode. Like I always tell her, I always look at her and I do not repeat anything negative, because I just feel like, say, you're going to just jinx the whole thing, I'm gonna go upset. So that's just one thing where it's true. And when you mentioned the food thing, it's funny, Leslie, because I was like, there is a saying where if your food drop, somebody was thinking about it, or somebody they want your food to, and it's because they never get any. I think that's how it go, but one of them can always correct me.
Oh my God. Oh my God, it happened to me a few years back. There was a coworker. I swear I bought a bag of banana chips. I don't even like banana chips more than some, but that day I didn't have enough food and I wanted a snack. And the banana chips bag, you know how the banana chips bag, them crisp and them fat, because full up of air, so it look like nothing there. Nothing really there, but it look full. I like, me and the girl, we don't have no beef or nothing, but though it's not like I like her or dislike her. It was just like we're not friends, but if I share snacks with you, it's not an issue. But I came in the room now with the snack, and afternoon and the hungry, like the munchies back here, everybody wants a snack, and I got the banana chips, but nobody else got a snack. So I had someone that's completely forgot about it, and I was like, oh, let me eat the snack now. I bust the bag. As I bust the bag, everything on the floor. I know the girl that got turned around and look for me and say, I didn't mean for ask but I didn't mean for asking about it. I just a little bit of think about it too hard. I'm just did I say, yeah, she not give me none. She not give me none, and that's why that's I'm sorry. And I'm like, you couldn't have just asked me. Like honestly, you sat down there and thought like you. She's like a bad man with a bad mind. Still, it goes back to our initial conversation. But she's like a
Yep.
bad man with a bad mind. You come here and said Jesus a bad man. She said, look, goody him one. And I'm not afraid for ask. I'm never feel like for ask. I don't know what she said, and there's something just busting everything on the ground. And I'm like, God believe, God believe. But
Nobody can tell me that that saying is not true. Maybe it's the power of manifestation, but it is truly goat mouth. And no, there's more to it. There's no way. But Dougie, I want to hear from you because you've been silent. And what are some superstitions you've heard growing up and maybe find yourself following now?
I mean, anyone who knows me knows I'm like huge on ancestry. So I think in paying an homage to my ancestors, I should probably think about a lot of these superstitions that they have. In prepping for this, I had conversations with people who were older. I also had my own experiences. So Jamaicans have a couple of superstitions, but I think we created these superstitions because we wanted to explain things. We also carried on these particular practices or superstitions because we had no explanation for why we did it. My grandmother would say, belief kills and belief cures. And if you don't believe it and something happens, you have this feeling that it's because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So um, I have pictures of myself as a younger kid, and I have red ribbons in because it's believed that when you have a child, you're supposed to put red ribbons in, or you're supposed to dress the kid in red because it is supposed to run duppy. For anyone who's from the Eastern Caribbean, that's a jumbie or a spirit. Um, there are also different things like if you are at a wake, an awake for anyone who is not in Canada or North America, it's a nine night or a ninth night. When you're leaving, you're not supposed to say you're gone or I'm leaving. You're supposed to just leave or to kind of beckon to the other person that you're leaving to follow you. Because if you are supposed to say that you are leaving, then the person is going to follow you, which is the dead person, and you don't want that. Leslie touched on a couple of things, but as a man, I think the one that is like most prominent among men has to do with bun or infidelity. So if a man were to buck his toe or to snub his toe on something when he's walking, it's believed that he's being cheated on. If he were to sneeze 3 times, apparently he's also being cheated on. Um, there's so many things. There's the one that
and wait, of course, the belt buckle. Missing your loop. Never forget you can't miss your loop.
missing your loop is also it. I don't know where that's from. It's kind of like a weird thing, but there's that. There's also a belief that if your partner dies, for the days leading up to the actual funeral, you're supposed to wear black underwear, and at the funeral, you're supposed to give them a half of a handkerchief because you're supposed to take one half before the funeral. You're supposed to burn it, the unburnt half. You're supposed to give that to the other person along with some. I know this is a family friendly podcast, but some pubic hair. I learned this maybe a couple of years ago, but it's something that a lot of funeral homes in Jamaica actually advise couples to do, or the remainder
No
or the
comment.
grieving part partner. That's what you're supposed to do. There are lots of things. The one that I think I practice most frequently because I cook is if salt falls on the floor, I throw it behind me to prevent bad luck, and I do not sweep my apartment in the nights. Or if I sweep, I kind of like back it into a corner, or I use a dustbin and I put it in the trash because I'm not supposed to sweep out. I'm not supposed to sweep out of my apartment at nights because I'm sweeping away my blessings.
Your granny raised you? Your granny raised you?
My grandmother didn't raise me, but I have a passion for Jamaican culture, and a part of it was to be knowledgeable about cultural practices, and the superstitions were just a part of the learnings.
I would
That's
never
true.
have guessed that whole thing about sweeping outside your house. Like, I've never heard that. And like, what's about people who are nocturnal? Like, some
Dog
people who
damn
have,
supper.
yeah, your house have to stay dirty 'cause it
Spe-
that.
Speaking of dog namming your supper, if you go to a wedding and there is a wedding cake and you can take it home with you, a dog is never supposed to eat someone's wedding cake because it's bad luck for the couple.
Is it also the same culture with the whole like where I guess it's a tradition, not so much like a superstition, but always keep the top tier for the first year, and that's whenever you have your first child or something like that.
I
Yeah.
think that's I think keeping the top tier of anyone's cake. I think that maybe rooted in some form of colonization or colonialism because I know Americans do it as well. But I know for men they don't drink red drinks at a woman's house or eat stewed peas or oxtail because it's used to tie you, which means to soul bond you or something of that nature. So if a woman wants to keep you in her life forever, even if you ain't ish, she would tie you using sweat rice. For anyone who knows what sweat rice is, if
That's
you
so
know, you
nasty.
know. But that's as much as I know about Jamaican superstitions.
So wait a second. How does two-piece tie you? What's the secret ingredient? I'd love to know.
Friend, we can't discuss that. If you know, you know. If you know what sweat
Boy,
rice is, you know.
boy, you
I
never
will not be
know.
telling the audience what is the red ingredient that goes into two piece.
Stew
Let's
peas. I don't even eat
let's
stew
just say
peas, so
it.
I don't
You know,
care.
I'm not going to say it because it's mm-mm. You are not going to draw me out today. But Shads, you were raised with your granny, so I mean, what are your views on these superstitions?
Well, you know plenty compared to me. I'm there listening to you like I actually forgot about some of them, and I was like, wait, oh yeah, that one is true. By the way, nine night scares me, and every time I think about nine night, my mind automatically goes to rolling calf. I don't know why. It's just the two linked together, and it stresses me out. But yes, may they grow my granny, and as religious as she be, I think I'd mentioned on the previous podcast, she's superstitious bad. Like I remember because I used to love sit down in front of the TV. Actually, correction, lie down in front of the TV, and I think my cousin used to do it and my brother used to do it as well. They'll walk over me and she'll cuss and say, don't walk over, da da da. But I was corrected that it means that you will start grow, but I swear I remember her saying that she won't get married if anybody walk over her. And I'm still not married, so maybe it's true. I don't know. Or something else that probably happened that was superstitious. But there's there's so many and I'm losing my memory with it, but there's also leaving the purse on the floor. I feel like that one's like a universal almost, but
Amen.
putting the
Amen.
purse on the floor stresses me out. Like my purse does not see the floor. It is always on the chair, on a handle. It cannot touch the floor. If it touches the floor, I'm stressed out. If I see someone put their purse on the floor, it stresses me out. I'm like, does it need to be there? Like you know that's a bad thing, right? You'll lose money. Like you can't do that. Like no, it gives me anxiety. Doggy, what you think about that?
Yes, I have a question, right? Because this I learned this putting your purse on the floor when I moved here. Because it was not something I heard in Jamaica. I didn't hear it in New York from other Jamaicans, so it was kind of strange. Suppose he's a broke pocket girl, I don't have no money for lose anyways. Like I just
No,
feel
no,
like
no, 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 no. Let me just stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Broke pockets are not you go broke or raw. You are go what's broke. Anyway, you put your purse on the ground because if your purse touch the ground, broke it name. There is
you have
no
nothing
way
to
to come back.
lose.
No, you have something to lose. Any riches when did that come your way, it's not coming again. Like if your Aunt did that scratch you and you're gonna get some Western Union money the day after, or you go win lotto, options are now few.
Them
Truth
one
is,
they're
you're
more
tired. It's
them
So
one
over.
exactly.
so did Jamaicans come up with fumbling the bag literally? Because that seems like fumbling the bag.
We probably did. I mean, we have invented a lot of things, so I feel like maybe we were the ones who they bust people on that and them just try come take it over and claim say after them on. We don't know.
I'd like to just add when Shad was talking about sitting in front of the TV and watching it and people stepping over her. I've never heard that, but I was the only child, so it's not like I was worried about nobody stepping over me.
That's because you
But
don't grow.
the things that I want to say to you would not be appropriate for air. So, with that in mind, the point I wanted to make was that there, I mean, when I did history, like I did history all my whole life, blah, blah, high school, university, blah, blah. And I remember the indigenous people, when the settlers came, they hated, then they took photos of them because if you took photos of them, it took your spirit, like your spirit was lost. Like I think even now, like indigenous groups in different parts of the world don't like when people take photographs of them. Like I remember when I went to, was it Venezuela or Panama, one of them, and we saw like indigenous people, like Mayans, I believe, and you weren't allowed to take photos of them because if you take a photo of them, their soul gets sucked into the camera and blah blah blah. So this superstition thing is not Jamaica specific. It's world specific, obviously, but some of them have some credence. They're coming from before we were even a concept. So you know what I mean? Like I'm. Who am I
Like the
telling that
Bible
they're
and the
wrong?
key, or the book and the key.
I
Bible
don't
and
know what
key,
that is.
friend.
What is
Bible and
that?
key, and I learned that on YouTube. I don't
What
know
is
if
that?
Shad is going to explain. So apparently, if you if you lost something, um, if you placed like a Bible on like a key and there's like a cord attached to it, and you say by Saint Peter and by Saint Paul. I don't know the verbiage, but if the Bible spins in a particular direction or something of that nature, it would be able to identify the actual thief. Um,
You mean if the key spins in a certain direction, not the Bible?
See, that has to be from Kingston because my family don't know about that.
Whoa, shots fired. When you said something about Peter and Paul, all I thought about is that kids nursery rhyme about fly away Peter, fly away Paul, come back Peter, come back Paul. Is it somehow tied to that wherein like Peter and
No,
Paul can find the thief?
no,
Oh, how it go?
it's by Saint Peter and by Saint Paul. I guess they were the most revered apostles. So I don't know. I mean, I mean, half of these
Well,
things we don't know.
string and keys sound like that's something there when them said that you can put I don't know a ring on a piece of string and it turn and you can know if it's a boy or a girl if you're going online or if you're going a circle like them something there like
That's over your
so,
belly or something like that. And I mean, we have so many superstitions about everything, down to if you're gonna have a boy or a girl, if you got children. It's endless. It's endless, and it makes me wonder if what our society is really like. And I think I'm going to jump into that next. But before I do, Dougie, did you have anything else to add to the superstitious world of ours?
It's beautiful. Pay homage to your ancestors. I mean, there's a reason why they had explanations for certain things. A lot of the superstitions that we now share were meant to be protective measures because our ancestors thought a particular thing. Jamaica is out of many one people, so a lot of the superstitions that we speak about, they're not all African. A lot of them are also Indian and Asian. For example, I know Indians believe that you're not supposed to, or certain Indians believe you're not supposed to buy shoes for grown men or grown women because they will walk out of your life. So you're basically buying them the pair of shoes that they're going to use to walk out of your life. So you don't ever do that.
I've heard
So
that one.
ladies, don't buy
I've
your
heard it
man
too.
some shoes because he will walk out of your life. Just give him the gift card, okay? Much appreciated.
None of that. Go with him to town and buy two shoes one time. So if you all walk me I walk too. I believe in fair play. Equity would say yeah.
So I want to jump into something else, but before I do, I know our listeners are loving this topic right now, and I just wanted to remind them to follow us, tell your friends to follow us and listen. We are at lucky number 13. So let's get into the next stuff. So I wanted to touch on the combination of the two, religion and superstition, because it seems that our country is blended, our home country, correction, is blended with the two. And I want to know, are we religious or are we superstitious? Dougie, I'm gonna start with you.
Yay! Let me preface this by saying this. I'm only speaking for the people I've met. I think Jamaica is a mixture of both. I don't think we're particularly religious and not superstitious. I think we're both because a lot of these superstitions they are also based on religious things. For example, Leslie touched on the topic of a goat mouth. It's very biblical. There is a belief that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So speak good things and good things will happen. Speak bad things and bad things will happen. So I think we're a little bit of both. Um, for my family, I remember when my grandfather died, my grandmother, who is very religious, she did partake in a couple of the cultural practices because another family member had said the funeral home had told her to do this. I remember we got a call and the funeral director said, "Oh, don't worry, we took care of everything for you." And it was very kind of like it was kind of cringy. It was a very cringy conversation because we sent down a suit, we sent down the cologne, we paid for everything. What did you take care of? And I think those were like the marital rights, or marital death rights that we do in Jamaica, which whether or not you're a Christian, funeral homes actually do these things for you. But my grandmother did a couple of things. The things that she also did when my grandfather died was to turn the room around. And the question to her was, why did you do that? And she said, apparently on the third day of someone dying, they actually come home to turn in their own bed or whatever. So to me, that makes no sense because if you've lived in a house, you've seen your room rearranged in a finite amount of ways. I mean, it's a room. Like, how would you not know it's your room? It's your bed, it's your dresser. Should it not be the same? But apparently, once you do that, ghosts get confused and they leave. She also didn't do that thing where when my grandfather died, she threw all his clothes outside on the ninth night and his mattress or whatever for him to pick it up to take on his spiritual journey. That's not something that she did, but she did partake in a couple of the cultural practices because it was something that is innate. It's a part of our culture, and you kind of do it as a form of protection because while you believe in God, you also believe that the ancestors came up with these things as frivolous as they may seem, as a form of protection, and in order to pay homage to your ancestors, you just do it.
Those are all good reminders and traditions and rituals. I know that I'm more familiar with the 9 night rituals, but I know they're like Kumina dances, Obeah rituals, like even the revivalism ones, and there's just so much, and it's all intertwined. Thankful to our ancestors. But Leslie, what do you think? Are we religious or are we superstitious beings?
I think we're equal parts. Well, you know what? if we use, I feel if we use superstition and the element of bad mind, because bad mind to me falls under a superstitious POV, or superstition may just a slight bit outweigh our religious POV. I make that point from an observationist perspective where You have situations where, say, someone's really sick. This is a hypothetical situation. Someone's really sick. You've gone to doctors and they don't know what the issue is with you. You've gone to church for the pastor to pray over you and the person's not getting the healing or healing as quickly as the family would like to know. There's a two-pronged situation about the superstitious aspect of Jamaica when it ties in with that. First, there is a belief that the reason why you cannot be healed is because whatever ails you is not something of mankind. It's not a physical manifestation. It's because somebody did something to you in a dark space, Obeah, which is so part of the underbelly of our religious POV. And because we have that mindset, when the doctors fail, when the prayer fails, there are families who feel as if the only plan C, and the plan C that's going to be the most prevalent plan, is going to the Obeah man, going to wherever. I don't know. I don't have any Obeah related anything, but they feel like they have to go to somewhere like that to get the help that they need. That mindset is a superstitious mindset. It's a mindset which says, my religion can go so far. And I should have prefaced my statement just like Dougie did. This is just an observation thing because I don't believe in either side being stronger, but I'm just saying from my observation, I feel like as a society, superstition somewhat outweighs religion because at the end of the day, people are afraid of what they don't know. And anything that cannot be understood or cannot be explained in like the most basic sense, people think, okay, this has more power, this has more strength. The only persons I can think of that would probably say, we are more religious and superstitious are like the prayer warriors. And Jamaica has, I can't find the Guinness record on it, but allegedly the most churches per square mile. Beside every church is a bar. What do people drink at bars? Spirits that can do what? Like, I'm throwing this out here in like a very non-choosy point of view, but at the end of the day, I think that we do more superstitious acts as a society than we do religious acts.
I hear you. I would agree with you as well, where I feel like it's a blend of both. It's like almost like a part of like cultural practice where it almost feels like a norm to be superstitious or have those superstitious ideologies. And I would just keep it simple. Like I really feel like it's both because we are a religious group of people, and at the same time, for me personally, like I just see it as manifestation is a big thing at the end of the day, really. And you believe what you want to believe, and if it like things you attract negativity is going to come to you. You attract positivity is going to come to you. That's how I see it. But I'm not gonna lie, it's ingrained. This was a pretty good topic, I would say. I mean, there is so much to it. So many traditions, so many thoughts on bad-mindedness. But I wanted to get your final thoughts before we roll out. And I'm going to throw it back to you, Leslie. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that I don't know. Nothing has come to me for me to definitively say I am in support of either camp. If you're going to be superstitious, know that there's an impact to it. If you're going to be hyper religious, there's also an impact to it. So, whichever camp you're in, or if you're on both camps, that's just part of the Jamaican experience. And it might be hard for some people to understand, especially in like our new lifestyle here in North America, where some people might just think that we're being over the top. I'm sure that if you go out and like make a big fuss about putting your bag on the floor, people can look at you funny. And I'm sure that there are some things like a lizard dropping. I'm sure a lizard dropping on me, and I freaking out would not be the same to my cousin who's been born and raised here who thinks that geckos, which is I guess what we call lizard over here, are cute. You just have to learn to accept the cultural differences and, live and let live.
And Dougie, what about you? What are your final thoughts on everything? The bad mind, the superstition, the religious aspect?
Uh, I think we come from a culture where we need to find an explanation for everything, and we also come from a culture where there is a bit of blame shifting. So bad mind, most definitely is somehow linked to a generalization of blame shifting. We always need someone to blame for or misfortune or miscomings. The same thing has to do with superstitions. They were created for a reason. A lot of them seem very far fetched, but it could just be a way of our ancestors just passing down stories or beliefs that were not a part of the English or the Spanish setting that we had in Jamaica. So if you're religious or superstitious, great. But just remember that the two are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Leslie did touch on Obeah. So, I mean, you can be a Christian and go to an Obeah man apparently, but my family doesn't do it. So, I mean, just know which side of the line you stand on and stand resolute.
Amen. 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 Now, before we go, I wanted to do our big up. Can't forget our big up.
One big up yourself. One big up yourself.
So today's big up goes to Chantel Whitney Brown Young, aka Winnie Harlow. She is a Canadian Jamaican supermodel. Harlow was diagnosed with vitiligo at the age of 4, and she spent most of her youth bullied and tormented for her differences. Winnie championed the arrival of alternative forms of beauty for a more diverse fashion landscape after gaining international exposure. The model is also a spokeswoman for others with low self-esteem, and she has herself faced a lot of bad-mindedness. But through it all, she has persevered and continues to do her thing. So for that, we thank her and we big her up.
One big up yourself. One big up yourself.
Now, before we go, it wouldn't be Nuh Likkle Twang if we didn't leave you guys with a proverb. So here it goes. And I've been practicing, guys, I promise. If you can't get turkey, you have to satisfy with John Crow. Translation, if you are unable to get turkey, then you must be satisfied with John Crow. Meaning, no well-thinking Jamaican would be caught dead with a portion of a crow's meat in his plate. However, this proverb simply advises us to be prepared to accept situations that may not be to our liking, for peace sake. Sometimes second best is not so bad after all. Again, take what you can from it, guys. I think it's a beautiful proverb that basically sums up everything we spoke about today. And before we go, just remember to follow us on our socials. That's Twitter and Instagram. And our handle is Nuh Likkle Twang, all one word. And feel free to send us an email with any questions or comments at nuh.likkletwang. We've spelled it for you numerous times at gmail.com. Until next time, walk good.